Here we go. All right. So jumping into it, I wanted to start off by saying a couple things about, here's the little agenda of what we're going to go through today. So first of all, again, maybe I'm not the most qualified to be offering a training here because most of what I learned was from Google. So just to everyone in the group, if you're stumped, if you feel like you need more information, that's where I've learned everything that I'm about to try to teach you. So my nice, make you feel good. If I can do it, you all can too. And then we're kind of just going to go back over the wiki, which we did in the first initial training at the very beginning, a year ago in our offsite, and kind of its purpose. So for everyone, I don't know if you've got it bookmarked or how often you're going to the wiki, but I have it on my bookmarks tab. You can also get to it, because it's not related to our, it's not proprietary anymore. It's not like you have to be on a VPN. You can get to it on your phone or anything if you just type wiki at waltersandwolf.com. That'll get you there. So starting off with that, does everybody have access to Wiki that way? Everybody feels good at least about getting to it somehow. Okay. I'm going to pull this little agenda over to my other screen. I don't want to speak for the entire leadership group and why they chose to continue with the Wiki, but from what I understand, the purpose of the Wiki was to create kind of a central location for information that can be used and searched easily to, like we've talked about, eliminate the tribal knowledge or attempt to share that tribal knowledge. So that's what I know of the purpose of the wiki. I think it is a central location. I see a future where it could be even more central once we're all a little bit more familiar with it and start being able to use all of the tools. So from here, I think just kind of going to do a little bit of a refresher of things that I think we've already been trained on, but maybe it's been a while. So the very first thing I wanted to talk about was just creating a page. Most of us have at least seen this when we have the left side. I think we all work out of the Preconstruction. So for creating a new page, I'm going to run through it, and what we can do is I'm going to run through one, and then maybe we'll do a little interactive where I'll create kind of a parent page that we can all make, quote, children pages underneath. So what I'm going to do is click on the new page, new page in the upper right hand corner. And then this part is right away, like, kind of gets into some things that we want to pay attention, and that is the name and location of the new page. As we've gotten more wiki involvement and people are starting to make more pages, it's becoming a little bit more important to put them where we want to put them and name them, something that's going to be easy to recall or searchable. So again, I think this entire group would be working out of the Preconstruction folder. So when you make a new page, if I just hit select right now, it's basically just going to make a page that lives somewhere under the umbrella of Walters and Wolf. You can see all of these pages on the right hand side don't necessarily have a home within the folder structure that we see on the left. And the reason that that is not ideal is because when you go to a page, I'm going to search for mine. When you go to a page, you want these breadcrumbs at the top to work. You want to be able to go back, kind of backtrack from where you started. So that starts right away by when you make the page initially. You need to kind of make sure it's in the right spot. So showing you how to do that, I'm going to put my new page in Preconstruction, estimating. And you can see I'm clicking on the left-hand side in the folder tree itself. I'm not clicking over here. The left side is the virtual folders. The right side are existing pages. So again, pre-construction, and I'm clicking the estimating folder, not the estimating page. Does that make sense to everyone so far? I know it's like maybe is stuff that everyone already knows, so I just want to make sure. So I've gotten to where I want this page to live. It's going to be within the estimating folder. So now that I have kind of the location of it set, which is in pre-construction, in estimating, I'm going to name this one Wiki training. And we want to do lowercase letters and a dash in between instead of a space. I don't really know why it's super important. That's just what I've been told to do. So lowercase letters and then the dash instead of the spaces. Stand by. I had already made that page, so now it's just trying to edit what already exists. So I'm going to start that over so that it looks the same as it's going to look when you first make a page. Okay, so we get another example. Same example, pre-construction, estimating, and then now that sets the location. And then I'm going to rename the page here what I want it named, and that is Wiki training. So then the next kind of pop-up box you get is what kind of editor you want to use. James, could you mute? I think it was a little. Thank you. So then we get the editor choice, the markdown editor, visual editor. I don't know what this one is. I think it's new and was just added, or raw HTML. We also have an option to use from a template, which is something that we probably will develop in the future, is like base page templates that work pretty universally. But right now, the three options that most of us are going to want to work with is the visual editor, markdown, and raw HTML. So I'm going to pick the visual editor because I think that's what the majority of people will use. And that gets us back to this window where we can then title the page. And this one, you don't have to follow the naming that we used in the URL. We can name this one whatever we want, capitals and spaces and all of that. And then a reminder, you can do a little description. You don't have to. And then you can also put tags to make it kind of easier to find or grouped with other things. And then I'm going to click OK. And then to make a new page, you have to have some content in here. I think you have to say, this is my new page. Okay. So everybody good with that? Again, I know that's kind of just reviewing some stuff that probably most of us already know, but if there's any questions there or anything about page creation that you didn't understand, please let me know. All right. So that kind of brings us to our next bullet point, which was editing a new page and the different editing functions. So to edit a page that already exists, you go up to the page actions and you edit. And because this one was created in Visual Editor, you're going to be editing this in Visual Editor, which is super kind of basic and what most of us are used to as far as terms of formatting and different things you can do. It's very similar to Word or other kind of raw text editing functions. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the Visual Editor editing functions just because I think they're very similar to other functions we're already used to. But if you have any specific questions about editing using Visual Editor, please let me know. And then the other editors that we can do, which in this case, I'm gonna have to go to page actions and convert. Because it was made in Visual Editor, I want to convert it to Markdown. Markdown, I think, is the next friendliest editor next to the Visual Editor. If you're not used to like coding and things like that, you can still do that within Markdown, but it also has a little bit easier kind of editing function, a little easier to understand. So when you convert a page to Markdown, this is what it looks like. You get kind of a, I don't know what the correct word for it, but like the syntax view, or like what it looks like behind the scenes on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand side is how it's going to display once the page is rendered. So the number one reason that I go to Markdown Editor is that you get a little more functionality in the form of like the thing that most of us are looking for, which would probably be the tabs or collapsible windows and things like that. So to do that, you would need to go to Markdown. It's unfortunately not available in Visual Editor. So you can do that in Markdown, or if you want, and you already know HTML and you're a coding genius, or you're really good at Googling code and copy and pasting, you can convert it to raw HTML, which I believe has some additional functionality beyond what you can do in Markdown. But again, I'm not super familiar with HTML coding. Any that I do is I just Google it and then copy and paste it. So do the 3 editor options make sense to everyone? Cool.
Yes.
All right, so then one thing I wanted to talk about in addition to the editing functions, and for this, I'm going to convert it back to Visual Editor. To start with, one thing to touch on when you're converting pages is if you, like, let's say you convert to Markdown and you make your tabs, and then you're like, cool, I have tabs now, let me convert it back to Visual Editor and edit how I know how. That will not work. Once you convert it back, the function that you put in Markdown doesn't talk back to Visual Editor. I think HTML does a little bit better, but still you may lose some functionality. So once you start using features that are only available in one, you kind of have to stick with it. So uploading assets, and I don't use the Visual Editor very much, but I'm pretty sure it's the simplest. You come up to the insert assets, and then when you get here, you have to first get your asset like uploaded to the wiki. So there's a bunch already in here, and maybe you're just trying to reference an asset that somebody else has already uploaded, but more often than not, you're going to be putting something unique to you. So you would go over here to the upload, and you can either browse or drag and drop. I'm going to go ahead and browse. And go to, thought I had a JPEG ready for us here. Where did I put it? Here we go. So I already had an image ready, but with this one, you'd just be going to wherever that asset is. So your asset can be like a JPEG, a snip. You can do PDFs. I'm not sure if you can do Word or Excels. I haven't tried that, but the fact that they're popping up leads me to believe that you can. So pretty sure the assets that you can import are pretty wide open. So another thing to kind of touch on is with the virtual folders, it applies to the assets as well. So I just uploaded that, and you can see there's like more than 21 pages of assets that have been uploaded. And because I didn't select any folder of where I wanted that to go, it's just somewhere in the blanket of all of these things now. And I don't think I can search it. So I would have to click through all of these to find it. So I think we probably want to try to do a little bit better job of foldering things in the assets department. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead.
The easiest way to find something you just added is to sort by added right there on the right. I just press it like twice and then it'll sort backwards. Whatever you just added, it should be at the top.
Perfect. So thanks, Robert, because I'd forgotten about that. You're right. If you want to kind of grab it from the blanket, I feel like it would be beneficial for us to start foldering the assets as well, considering we have so many of them. So I'll kind of make it a goal to set up a folder structure for pre-construction to insert our assets. But once it's in here, you're kind of finding it from the list and then you're selecting and inserting it. So this one will be helpful if we're working on a page, but it's not quite done yet, to let our viewers know that something isn't done yet, but we're working on it. So that would be how you're importing or uploading an asset through the visual editor. Does that make sense? Feel okay? All right. Let's see if I can remember how to do it in Markdown and HTML. It'll be fun. Okay, so it's the same kind of process on the Markdown side of things. You're just going to the Insert Asset button and again, just finding it from the list and inserting it. I think you could play around with the alignment feature too. I don't know if you get tabs and things involved, if the alignment always holds true. I haven't really messed with that too much, but if you wanted to, you can center it and that centers it on the page. I think there's ways to align it with code as well, but that seems to be the easiest if you just do it that way. How do we feel about inserting assets in the Markdown editor?
So if you upload an asset, what folder does it go to? Like, how do I search for the asset I just uploaded?
I don't know that you can search for it, and that's kind of what the road I was going down, is that it may be useful to folder your assets. So let me, whoops, not new page. Kind of show you what we did on the 2-second lean pages. We had a ton of assets, and so we started to kind of folder those. And you can do that by making a new folder. So if you were making a parent page that was going to be, the host of a lot more like other downstream pages that had a ton of assets, you probably want to name it kind of the global name of the parent page. In this case, I had done 2-second lean. And then these were all of the things that went on the 2-second lean agendas. And then you can see I started to separate it by weeks too, because the weeks started to like have a ton of pages or a ton of assets. I don't know if you can search for new assets or like things that you've uploaded.
I don't think you can.
I don't know what this button does, but I'm going to try to click it. Oh, that just goes back one in the folder search. Yeah, so when we're looking at this page, because we don't really have a virtual folder for the assets set up, some people have started to kind of use it that way, which is good. But the virtual folders of the assets and the virtual folders of the pages are completely independent. Setting up one does not set up the other. I do know that. So, any questions on that? James, what I would recommend is if you can use Robert's tip to try to find something that you just uploaded. It looks like a couple people are playing around with that as we go. But if you had a bunch of stuff to do and you didn't want to do that, or you were spreading the work out over time, then you might want to start foldering the assets in your own naming structure. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
This next one will be fun because I really don't remember how to do it. And so we're gonna learn together. There it goes. Same thing. I was scared for no reason. In HTML, which is the view we're looking at now. So HTML, you don't get the side-by-side view. You just get kind of the syntax of how you're writing the page. And then once you save, it will render and give you the view that everyone else is going to see. But just for fun, in HTML, you're doing the same thing. You're just able to insert the asset by clicking on the insert asset. You can also have it fetch remote images a little bit quicker in HTML by just typing in the code, but I don't remember it. I don't know that we're going to get a ton of HTML users, and if there are HTML users in here, they're probably more educated than me, so I don't know that I should be diving into that too much.
You can't delete assets?
Let's see. I think certain people probably have certain privileges, and I don't know if everybody has the delete function.
Jake, I think you mentioned before that only maybe you and maybe Robert have that.
I know I can delete pages, but I don't know if I can delete assets. So it looks like I can. If you click the 3 dots on the action, Sasha, do you get those options or no?
Yeah, but when I click it, it says forbidden.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to delete mine. Let's delete this guy so I can add it back quick and see if it's forbidden. Yeah. So that's a good one. I'll take a note on that and talk with Watts and see what kind of user, like, because they have like power users that lets you delete pages, and a lot of people don't have that. I'll figure out what it takes to delete assets.
Could it be that if it's being used, it won't let you delete it? But if it hasn't been used, maybe you could delete it?
That's a good question.
Because
I
I'm
would-
wondering if you delete something that's there, when you go to that page, it probably won't display it, or like it's missing.
Yeah, that'd be a good question. I don't know if somebody else already used that on their test page too, but yeah, I think it's an authorization thing, which makes sense, because if everybody had the ability to delete assets, it could get pretty, like, you might not know that, you know, I'm using this on 6 other pages, even though it was your asset to begin with. Maybe it gets shared. So I'll ask Watson, see what kind of user privileges we get, so we can maybe clean that up, or have specific users who can clean that up. So for now, the Squidward GIF gets to stay in there for your use.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right, so that was everything about uploading and inserting assets, which I think is one of the more common things that we're going to want to do as we all create and decorate pages. Seems to be pretty useful. So I just want to, again, ask everybody feel okay with creating a page, editing a page in the 2 or 3 different editors, and uploading assets. All right. The next thing that I have found has been a little bit helpful for me, specifically on pages that I get like fairly built out, and then am playing around with a different feature and adding different codes or different editing things, And then I go back and save and render, and like my page is all screwed up. So we do have the history function. And just to touch on this, like this is another reason you really can't go too wrong. So if you click on the history function of a page, it gives the full history of a page. So if you needed to go back in time to a moment when you didn't screw up, you don't even, maybe you don't remember the change you made. So in this view, it's showing, highlighting red, the change that was made. You can also click this view mode and it will show like what the code looked like before and what the code looks like after. So in this case, it's showing that I deleted the image that was there before. And I think that all users have this functionality, I hope. But if you wanted to go back in time, so right now it's telling me that this is A and this is B. And if I click this one, then it shows a different moment in time. If I wanted to go back, say, to when I had the image, I can click the 3 dots and restore. And then if I go back to the live version, there's my picture is back. So just kind of throwing that out there. You don't like need to be afraid to edit or be afraid that you're going to screw something up, because we can always go back in time and recover a different instance of a page. So good with that. All right. And now we're going to get into the fun stuff, and that would be creating tabs, which I have not done in a while. So I'm going to go to edit this page. And then on another window, we'll open. Okay, so this will be making tabs in the Markdown editor, which I think is probably the most practical for a lot of us. Because again, if you create it in HTML and try to convert to visual or Markdown, I think you lose some functionality and the page doesn't render correctly. I think that Markdown is going to make the most sense for most of us because it's the second easiest to edit in, but gives you that tab function. So there's 2 ways you can go about it. The first and easiest would be you can come here and copy and paste this template of tabs that I've already made. And just to show you what that would look like if you did it that way, then you gotta remove all of the parentheses. All right, let's see if I did it right. So it looks good because it's doing the tab set. It doesn't fully render until you save and open the page. So this is the way that I described as for cheaters. I'll show you how to write them, like if you didn't want to have to go to my page and copy and paste them. But as you can see, just copy and pasting brought over the template of tabs. So maybe 6 tabs isn't enough, and you would need to know how to kind of open and close the tabs again. So we'll look at that too. But in Markdown, like we can just copy that and paste it. I think maybe what we'll do is create a template page that has some of the features that most of us want, which would be tabs and maybe collapsible windows. And there's one other thing I want to show. But if you really just want the tabs and you're not going to feel like you're writing a ton of pages and you don't think you're going to need more than 6 tabs, you can do it that way. Any questions on way number one? Which is basically copy and pasting a template of tabs. No. Okay, so then kind of an explanation of like what the tabs themselves are doing. When you are in Markdown, you're using like the pound sign to designate what something is. So 1 pound sign is header 1, 2 pound signs header 2, 3 pound signs is header 3, and then text without a pound sign is just paragraph, it's just text.
We're in the training.
There we go. So then you're like, that's kind of what you're doing here. You're setting up the tab set, and that's what this second code is. So the very first thing you do, you want to open it up and say, this is going to be tabs. So this would be, I don't know, I'm going to do the one that I was working on for my goal, which I don't want to talk about because I'm way behind, but let's say I'm doing some tabs for equipment pricing. So the very first thing I do is I open up my kind of tab header to say, this is going to be equipment pricing. And then the second thing you do is your header number 2 is the line that tells the wiki to open up a tab set. So this is kind of the formatting line. You can see that it says tab, and then there's the brackets and dot tab set, but that doesn't get displayed when you save. That's just telling the wiki to open up the tabs. Does that make sense? Okay. And I want to go back. So again, that second header is not displayed. It's just serving functionality. And then what I would do from there is I might say tab 1 is Laverne pricing. Tab 2 Las Vegas, and then tab 3 will be Fremont. And then I'm not going to use all 6, so I'll get rid of these, but I'm going to leave this last thing. So this is an important one. When you open up the tabs with the header number 2, which is 2 pound signs, when you're all done with your tabs and you want to go back to just regular text afterwards, you have to close it. You have to kind of tell the wiki that you're done with the tabs, and you do that by opening up another header 2 parent that is just the header 2. So 2 pound signs and then the header of whatever you would want your next section to be. Does that make sense? Okay. And then another important thing to note while we're here, you can insert assets inside of a tab, just like you would inserting assets anywhere else. So I'm, in the bounds of the Laverne pricing. So I might insert an asset. And let's see what I have for equipment costs. I didn't do a very good job of labeling these, so I don't know what these go to, but I'll pick West Coast just for an example. So then you can see it rendered the asset, and then if we save, and we'll go back to what that would look like. And if I did things right, and I hope I did, then it's displayed when we're clicked on the Laverne tab. But if I click over to Vegas, that asset goes away because the asset lives inside of that tab. It's not displayed when I'm on the other ones. Only the information that I put within the tabs for the other ones makes it over. Make sense? Okay. And then I want to show one other thing, and I've only done this one time, but it could be useful when we're talking about pricing and things like that. And that would be to put tabs within tabs, which you can do. So again, you can see, haven't gotten around to Fremont's pricing, but I do have Laverne and Las Vegas, and what I did is I created a tab set within a tab set to kind of further break things down. So if you're in Laverne and you want West Coast pricing, then you click that tab and then that tab. If you're looking for Elevators LLC, then you can click the next tab. So there can be some good functionality to that and the ability to kind of multi-layer things. And I'm trying to see, let's see, would be, you see it gets a little crazy when you're trying to do that, but definitely don't have to be intimidated by it. It's all controlled by the amount of pound signs you do within things, basically. So this one, I opened another header, which is just one additional pound sign beyond the tab that was in there. So let me see if I can just go back to the training one we're on and do this same thing. And I don't want to screw it up and confuse anyone, but I will try. Okay, so I think on this one, if I wanted to do another tab set, I would be doing, whoops. And then, so that's opening up the second header of the second tab set. So now I have the first header saying equipment pricing, and then the tab set starts. And then now I'm gonna have a tab set within that. So I'll need to kind of reopen it, which is one header beyond the tab names themselves. So we're getting kind of into a little bit more advanced type stuff. But if you guys are running into this and want to do it and need help, we can do that too. Oops. Okay, so now we've opened up the second tab set, which again, this entire tab set is going to be within the Las Vegas tab. So every parent header beyond this, or we'll have to have one more pound sign. So this would be, again, I'm going to do providers for Vegas. So I'll call this one Ahern, and that would be contents of Ahern tab. And the next one would be for us, how many pound signs? I do one more. Then I'll do the all right. Let's see how I did. Okay, so far so good. Laverne's tab didn't get messed up. And then Vegas now has a tab set within the tab. So I know it gets a little confusing when you're looking at the syntax part of it, just the quote unquote code part. But if you're ever concerned, just try it. And if you're wrong, we can always convert back. So I know we went kind of down a little rabbit hole on tabs within tabs. How's everyone feeling about tabs in Markdown? Everyone's feeling good. Okay. How do we feel about inserting assets within tabs? Good. Cool. Let's see, we're doing pretty good on our agenda. The one thing that I was gonna touch on that I'm deciding right now that I'm not going to do that unless anybody requests it is tabs in HTML. I feel like if you're working in HTML, again, you're probably more experienced in it than I am, so I don't know that I'm the best to teach tabs. Everybody okay with that? Okay, everyone's okay with that. What I will do is go back to wherever I put that. Show a couple of other things that you can do. And I don't remember any of these codes, but I have them on my wiki that we can copy and paste from. And I got all of them from Google. So again, don't be scared to Google something if you don't know what it is or want it. You can steal it from other pages. You can do all kinds of stuff. So this one is the collapsible menu, which is kind of nice. So for that one, what do we have? That would be just this code block. Whoops. That's gonna be a problem. And this is kind of a cool thing because you can see here how the markdown editor will allow you to do some HTML functionality. So I think I screwed that up with the header class, but we'll look at it anyways. So here we have a good example of the page history and how we can use it to restore our pages. Because when I did that, I broke my tabs. I didn't mean to, I just copy and pasted it in the wrong spot. So I know what I just added, but if maybe somebody else broke your page or you broke someone else's page and you just want to go back, you can use the version history to do that. So I'm going to go back to my page that I just had and restore that. So fixed it to where we were. And then the last thing that I thought would be cool to share with the group, and I just kind of started doing this on my wiki very recently. And I started to do a write-up on how to do it that I can share with the group. And then, so it's this button at the top. So my thought was that you maybe don't know who owns everyone's page. You can always see who edited it last, but you don't always know who is responsible for it. And it's upkeep and PDCA and stuff like that. So my idea was to have this button that will allow you to contact the page owner. And so I think if we're going to make a template, it might be nice to have this on all of our pages. So I did this on mine, and what it does is it's basically just opens up I hope it does. Stand by. There we go. It opened in another window, but when you click the button, it just opens an email to that's already addressed to the page owner. And then it would be like, in this case, an improvement suggestion. So you said, hey, Jake, your page sucks and your code's broken and your training lesson wasn't very good, then you could let me know by clicking this button. But hopefully you guys have things much nicer to say. So interest in learning that today, or you guys feel good with what we had on the markdown and I can just send you the word? I'm seeing a couple nods, so maybe we don't do the mail to link today. Okay, then we won't. But I do think it would be helpful to have on our pages. And we still have a couple minutes, and that was really all I had to go over today, was just kind of refreshing the basics of creating a page, the different editors, assets, and tabs, because it seems like those are the ones that people want the most. Is there anything that anybody was hoping to learn today and they feel like they didn't? Silence in this case may be good. Maybe good. Okay. Plus Delta, maybe you guys can help me because I have a feeling that I maybe get sucked into doing more wiki training. And so is there things that I could do better moving forward? Would love some feedback.
I think you did great.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you did great.
Thank you.
Really good.
I just end up stealing all your stuff, Jake.
That's good. Yeah, that's the plan. I was hoping that my page can just be full of stuff that people can steal. So
And in case you missed it, Yana gave you the thumbs up in James's window. Yeah.
thanks, Yana. I appreciate it. Yeah, but other than that, that's really all I had. I hope it wasn't like too confusing. I was trying to simplify, but I want people to feel like they can steal things from my page because that's what I did. I stole all of this from Google, and now moving forward, I'm probably going to steal all of it from ChatGPT. If you use that, you can just ask it to do whatever you want to do and copy it to your page. So
Oh, ChatGPT.
yes. So cool. Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate you guys giving me some time here to go over it. And if you do have questions that you don't feel like bringing up in a group setting, please send me a Zoom message and I'll do my best to help out.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks,
Thank
Jake.
you.
Thanks, Jake.